They finally dropped it. After all the waiting, all the speculating, all the just be patient energy we had to survive on, the Gilded Age Season 4 is actually happening, and things are looking more intense than ever. Because let me tell you, what's coming is not just another season of fancy dresses and ballroom politics. No. This time, the stakes are higher, the drama is messier, and the people we love are being pushed to their absolute limits. So if you thought Season 3 left you on the edge of your seat, just wait. Just wait. Because Season 4 is about to completely change the game, and we need to talk about everything we know so far. The trailer, the release date, the storylines, all of it. Let's get into it. Okay, so first things first. Let's actually talk about what the trailer is showing us. Because on the surface, it looks like your typical Gilded Age glamour. Beautiful costumes, grand houses, intense stares across dining tables. But if you actually pay attention, if you slow down and really look at what's happening between the lines, this trailer is telling a much darker and more complicated story than the show has ever told before. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on that. The very first thing that hits you is the atmosphere. It feels heavier, like even the way the scenes are lit, even the way people are speaking to each other. There's this tension sitting underneath everything, and it doesn't go away, it just builds. And that's intentional. The showrunners know exactly what they're doing. They're not giving us a lighthearted peek into Season 4. They're warning us. They're telling us to prepare ourselves because the world these characters have built for themselves is about to be seriously tested in ways we have not seen before. Now let's talk about Bertha, because obviously we have to start there. In the trailer, Bertha looks powerful as always. She's dressed impeccably, she holds herself with that same unshakable confidence we've always known her for. But there's something different this time, and I noticed it immediately. There are these brief moments, just flashes really, where that confidence cracks just slightly, where you can see something behind her eyes that looks almost like worry. And for Bertha Russell, worry is not a look we're used to seeing. This woman has walked into every single battle with her head high and her plans already 3 steps ahead. So the fact that the trailer is giving us even a glimpse of vulnerability from her tells me that whatever she's facing in Season 4 is genuinely threatening in a way that even she didn't fully see coming. And that makes complete sense when you think about where we left things. Bertha made a massive move at that ball. She invited the divorcees. She essentially rewrote the social rule book in one night and dared society to say something about it. And at the time, it felt like a victory. It felt like our girl had done it again, you know? But here's the thing about power moves. They always come with a price. You shake the table hard enough, things are going to fall off. And the trailer is making it very clear that Bertha is now dealing with exactly that. The consequences of her own boldness are catching up with her, and the people who have been waiting for her to slip, Agnes Van Ryn being the most obvious one, are absolutely ready to pounce. Because Agnes in this trailer, she looks determined in a way that feels genuinely dangerous. Like, Agnes has always been sharp and calculated, but there's an energy coming off of her in these glimpses we get that feels personal. This isn't just about social hierarchy for her anymore. This feels like she's been waiting for this specific moment, waiting for Bertha to overextend herself. And now that it's finally happened, Agnes is not wasting a single second. She sees her opening and she is going for it. Which, honestly, as much as I love Bertha, I have to respect Agnes for that. She is not the one to underestimate, and I think Season 4 is finally going to remind everyone of that in a very big way. Then there's George. And this is where it gets really interesting to me because George in the trailer looks conflicted in a way that goes beyond just marital tension. Yes, we know that he and Bertha are still in that difficult place. Yes, we know that his departure at the end of the season felt loaded with meaning. But in the trailer, when you see George, he doesn't look like a man who has emotionally checked out of his marriage. He looks like a man who is genuinely torn, like someone who loves his wife but is also deeply frustrated and maybe even a little frightened by how far she's willing to go. And that complexity is so much more interesting than a simple separation storyline would ever be, because it means there's still something real and alive between them. It means this isn't over. It's just harder than it's ever been before. And honestly, that's what makes Bertha and George such a compelling couple to watch. It's never clean with them. It's never simple. They've always operated in this messy, complicated space where love and ambition and pride all collide together at once, and neither of them knows how to just step back and breathe. They push each other to the limit constantly, but they also, underneath all of that, genuinely need each other. And I think season 4 is going to put that need to the ultimate test. Will it be enough to keep them together? Or is this finally the moment where the weight of everything just becomes too much? The trailer doesn't give us a clean answer, and that's exactly why I cannot stop thinking about it. Now let's get into the release date situation, because I know this is what so many of you have been waiting to hear about, and I have some genuinely exciting news to share. So first, the basics. The Gilded Age was officially renewed for Season 4 back on July 28th, and the fact that HBO greenlit it before Season 3 had even finished airing tells you everything you need to know about how confident they are in this show. They're not nervous about it, they believe in it. And that kind of confidence from the network usually translates into a quality season, because it means the writers aren't scrambling or second-guessing themselves. They had the time and the security to actually build something great. Now here's the part that really got me excited. HBO included The Gilded Age in their official Coming in 2026 preview video. And if you know anything about how HBO does things, you know that they don't put a show in that kind of promotional content unless it is actually genuinely happening within that year. They're not in the business of teasing things that aren't ready. So when they put The Gilded Age in that 2026 lineup, that was basically their way of confirming that we are getting Season 4 this year. Not eventually, not someday, this year. And I don't know about you, but that information alone had me completely losing my mind. We don't have a specific premiere date yet, and I know that's frustrating. Trust me, I wish I could give you an exact date to put in your calendar right now. But what we can do is make some smart guesses based on what we know. HBO tends to follow certain patterns with their prestige dramas, and The Gilded Age has historically aired in the second half of the year. Late summer to fall has been their window. If production has been moving along the way it appears to be, and if the promotional push we're starting to see is any indication, I would not be surprised at all if we're looking at a late 2026 premiere, maybe even sooner than people are expecting. What I can tell you for certain is that the moment an official date drops, I will be right here covering it immediately. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that update, because I promise you it's coming sooner than it feels right now. The gears are already turning. The machine is already moving. Season 4 is not some distant dream anymore. It is genuinely right around the corner. And the fact that they're already putting trailers and promotional content out into the world means the finish line is closer than we think. What's also worth noting is how much care HBO is clearly putting into the marketing of this season compared to previous ones. The way they're rolling out information, the way the trailer is structured, it all feels more deliberate and more cinematic than before. Like they want people to feel the weight of what's coming before they even sit down to watch the first episode. And that kind of intentional storytelling through marketing tells me that Season 4 is going to be a significant chapter in this show's story. Not just a continuation, but an evolution. Something that shifts the entire dynamic of the series in ways we're not fully prepared for yet. So while we wait for that official date, the best thing we can do is exactly what we're doing right now. Pay attention to every detail, read between the lines of every trailer and every synopsis, and get ourselves ready. Because when Season 4 finally drops, I have a feeling it's going to move fast. It's going to hit hard, and we are going to have so much to talk about. Let's go deeper into the Bertha and Agnes dynamic, because honestly, this is the storyline I am most excited about going into Season 4, and I think it deserves its own full conversation. Because what we're looking at here is not just two women competing for social status. What we're looking at is a genuine power struggle between two of the most intelligent, most stubborn, most fascinating characters on television right now. And the fact that the stakes have never been higher makes it that much more thrilling to watch unfold. So here's where we are. Bertha made her move. She invited the divorcees to her ball, and in doing so, she essentially told old New York society that she was rewriting the rules. That was bold. That was brave. And in true Bertha fashion, it worked in the moment. She pulled it off. She always pulls it off. But the thing about Bertha is that she is so focused on winning the current battle that she sometimes doesn't see how that victory creates the next problem. And inviting the divorcees, as powerful a statement as it was, absolutely handed Agnes the narrative she needed to start rebuilding her position. Because here's what Agnes understands that Bertha sometimes underestimates. Society, at its core, runs on tradition and fear. And when you disrupt tradition as dramatically as Bertha did, the people who are afraid of change don't just accept it, they resist it. They look for the person who represents what they're comfortable with, the person who stands for order and propriety and the old ways. And that person, in this world, has always been Agnes Van Ryn. Agnes is the guardian of old New York. She is what those people look to when they feel like the world is shifting too fast. And Bertha, by shaking things up the way she did, essentially gave Agnes a fresh wave of relevance and support she didn't have before. Now, Agnes being Agnes, she is absolutely going to use that. She's not going to sit back and be grateful. She's going to be strategic. She's going to be sharp. And the synopsis telling us that she seizes an opportunity to regain her position is not a small thing. That is Agnes Van Ryn going to war. And I genuinely cannot wait to see it because Christine Baranski in full battle mode is one of the greatest things this show has ever given us. Every scene where Agnes is operating at full capacity, where she's calculating and precise and utterly ruthless in the most polite possible way, is television magic. And Season 4 sounds like it's going to give us a lot of that. But here's why I'm not ready to count Bertha out, not even slightly. Because Bertha has faced impossible odds before. She has walked into rooms where every single person wanted her to fail, and she has walked out having won. That's not luck. That's not just ambition. That is a specific kind of resilience and intelligence that very few characters on television actually possess. Bertha doesn't just fight back. She adapts. She reads the situation, she figures out the angle nobody else has thought of, and she uses it. And I fully believe that whatever consequences Season 4 throws at her, she is already in that big, beautiful house, looking out that window and forming a plan. Because that's what Bertha does. She doesn't fall apart. She gets to work. So the real question isn't whether Bertha will fight back. We know she will. The question is whether this time the force coming at her, Agnes, society, her own family's frustration with her, is finally enough to actually knock her off balance in a lasting way. And that uncertainty, that genuine not knowing, is what makes this storyline so incredibly compelling going into Season 4. Okay, let's talk about the younger generation, because the synopsis gives us some really interesting threads to pull on, and I have a lot of feelings about all of it. Starting with Marion, because Marion's storyline in Season 4 sounds like it could genuinely be the most interesting thing she's done since the show began. And I say that as someone who has always believed Marion had more depth in her than the show was giving her credit for. The synopsis says Marion forges a new path for herself. And look, on the surface, that could mean a lot of things. But given everything that happened at the end of Season 3, given the fact that she stepped up in that medical crisis and helped Dr. Kirkland save George's life, I think the path she's forging has something to do with that experience. Because that moment changed something in her. You could see it. She went from being this sheltered, uncertain young woman who was mostly just reacting to the people around her, and she became someone who acted, someone who was calm under pressure, who knew what to do, who actually saved a life. That doesn't just leave you unchanged. That kind of experience gets inside you, and it makes you want more of that feeling. So I genuinely think Marion might be moving towards some kind of healthcare or service role. And I think that's going to create a fascinating new tension between her and the world she's been raised in. Because in the Gilded Age, women of Marion's class are not supposed to have careers. They're supposed to marry well and manage their households and look beautiful at dinner parties. The idea of Marion deciding she wants to actually do something, actually contribute something beyond her social role, is going to ruffle a lot of feathers. And honestly, good. Marion ruffling feathers is a version of this character I am very much here for. Now Larry. I love Larry in theory. I think he and Marion make sense together, and I think their endgame is pretty clearly written into the show's DNA. But I also have to say, and I say this with love, Larry has been frustrating me lately. Because this is a man who genuinely wronged Marion. He lied. He caused the drift between them. And yet somehow he's still standing around with this wounded energy like he's the one who got hurt. That is giving me very tired, very dramatic man who needs to do better energy, and I'm over it. Season 4 needs to be the season where Larry actually grows up, actually takes accountability, and stops making Marion wait around for him to figure out something he should have figured out 2 seasons ago. They'll get there, I believe in them. But Larry needs to do the work first. Then there's Peggy and William, and can I just say, they are genuinely becoming my favorite couple on this show, and I will not be taking any criticism about that. William is the kind of man who shows up. He hears all the noise people make about Peggy, all the judgment and the disapproval, and he doesn't flinch. He stands next to her anyway. He chooses her anyway. And in a world where women like Peggy have to fight for everything, having a partner who doesn't make that fight harder is everything. William being willing to stand up to his own mother for Peggy is not a small thing. That is a man showing you who he is, and who he is someone worth rooting for.